Hello, welcome or welcome back to another Craftmas video. If you're new here, my name is Summer, and I'm a sewist who loves to do a lot of fiber arts projects. And through the month of December on this channel, we're doing a whole series of Craftmas projects. And today, I thought it would be fun to do my little intro in front of my Christmas tree because we finally got it up and I love it so much. The tree is fake, but don't tell anyone. And if you have particularly keen eyes, you might notice that there is actually a cat at the bottom of the tree. So already one present. But anyway, for today's video, I hope you're not sick of this fabric yet because we're gonna use it again today. I've got a bunch more of it. I love it. And I thought that it made such a good tree skirt. Why not try to make a real skirt out of it? While I'm not usually much of a skirt wearer, I've seen so many really cute holiday or just winter like mini skirts around. I just thought I want to make something like that. And when I found this fabric, I was like, this is the fabric that I wish my skirt to be. The vibe that we're going for is like holiday party. Not that I am someone who goes to a lot of holiday parties or parties in general, but if I were going to a holiday party, and I might, then I'll have a skirt to wear. But before we get started, there are a few other notions and things that I need to get from the fabric store, which I have honestly been putting off all morning because going to stores in person is one of my least favorite things. But I am determined to go pick up the things that I need so I can actually start making the skirt today. Store has been visited and supplies have been obtained, including this gorgeous soft bamboo fabric that I'm hoping will make a good lining for the skirt, although I have very little experience with linings. So we will find out together whether it was a good choice for a lining for this skirt. And this zipper, which I'm a little bit nervous about installing because I have not installed a zipper in a garment since high school. Again, we will see how it goes together. And maybe a couple of sneaky other fabrics for upcoming Craftmas videos. So stay tuned and consider subscribing if you want to see what they turn into. So without further ado, I think it's time for the scariest part of any project, cutting the fabric. So I am using a pattern for this project, which feels really good, honestly. The projects that I made last week were pretty simple and didn't require patterns. But if I'm being honest, making clothes and making clothes with patterns is where my comfort zone is. So excited to be using a pattern again. This is the Alley skirt from NH Patterns, which is a small business, and they did a really cool Black Friday sale where they featured all the patterns on their website as pay what you wish or pay what you're able, which is incredible, especially for a small business to do. So I picked up this Alley skirt pattern as well as a couple others, and I'm really excited to try them out. Fabric is cut, and I now have a tee, which is an integral part of the process. We still need to cut out some interfacing for the waistband, and then we'll iron on that interfacing to the waistband. Alright, now that all my pattern pieces are cut and interfaced where needed, I'm going to start by sewing a couple of darts. So does anyone remember a couple videos ago when I was so excited about having sewn darts for the first time? I think they look so good. So it's just got this like tiny little something to it, but for some reason I feel like it just makes it look so professional already, even though literally nothing else has been done with it. So I guess we'll see if it brings me the same unbridled joy to do it this time. Good morning. It is the next day. I was reviewing the rest of my footage from yesterday last night, and I discovered that annoyingly my microphone had died at some point and I didn't realize it. So there's a bunch of footage with no audio. Not even bad audio, no audio. So just to catch you up to speed on what you missed yesterday, the darts did come out just as exciting and wonderfully as I hoped they would. Can't really explain why I love darts so much. I just think there's something very like crisp and professional about them, and they make a garment look, in my opinion, just a little bit more elevated. As someone who's, I would say, an early intermediate sewist, those little touches that can make my work look a little bit nicer and a little bit less home sewn just excite me greatly. After the thrill of placing those darts, the pattern called for overlocking the side seams and then stitching them together. As you know, I don't have an overlocker, so I decided I was going to French seam those side seams. And honestly, losing the audio from this was maybe a blessing in disguise, because I was trying to explain just the process of French seaming, and I don't know that I did that good of a job. But basically what I did was put wrong sides together, sew the seam, and then press it right sides together and sew another seam. And that essentially encases the raw edges, and it creates a seam that's a little bit more durable and will hopefully hold up better to washes and wears. So I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, but I'm still very new to filming and editing myself and dealing with microphones and all of that. My production is certainly not perfect, so these things happen, and this is how I learn. So this is where we're at now. This is the front piece, and then the back pieces will be joined with a zipper. We've got a good start. I think that the side seams turned out really well. So this is the inside of that French seam with all the raw edges encased, and then the outside just looks like any other seam. This is how it's looking, and I'm actually really happy with it. It will come up a little bit higher, obviously, once it's hemmed and finished. When I decided to do French seams on it, actually went up in size in the pattern because I was worried that essentially adding an extra seam would completely throw off the sizing, and the seam allowance of the pattern is already pretty small. But I actually think now it might be too big, but I think the next step in the pattern takes me into the waistband a little bit. So I'll probably work on that and then see how the waistband is fitting, because if that is also much too large, then I'll address that issue now, versus if the waistband fits, but there's just a little bit more ease like through the hips, I don't mind that. In fact, I would appreciate that. I definitely don't want to be glued into this skirt. It gives me flashbacks to like high school mini skirt at dances days, not looking to go back there. Okay, so I have 2 sets each of a front waistband piece and then 2 back waistband pieces. I'm supposed to put them together. I think I'm supposed to put them together the same way I just put the front piece of the skirt together with the back pieces of the skirt. One of the sets is for the inside and one of the sets is for the outside. And yes, if you were wondering, I am planning to French seam these as well. We will not have any raw edges where we can help it. I feel like I'm just going back and forth a lot, but it's kind of how French seams are. It's just like stitch and then press and then stitch and then press. So hopefully it's not too boring. Okay, I'm really happy with that. You can tell that I put 0 effort into pattern matching these. I just don't have a lot of experience with pattern matching, and I didn't want to stress myself out about it this time. I think that the French seam came out really nicely, so this is that encased bit that I keep talking about, which I think with the interfacing you can actually see really well how it kind of like folds in on itself. And then on the outside, you don't actually see any of that obviously poking through. I'm just gonna see how this waistband fits. And then, like I said, if we need to make adjustments on the fit, we'll go from there. Okay, this I think is actually really good. It looks funny. It's like a little cummerbund or something. I just have it clipped in the back at the moment, and I feel like it's hitting me in the right spot, like around the waist, and fitting really nicely with a little bit of room in the back for seam allowance, for zipper, for all of that. So I think, hopefully, if we proceed, then if there is any excess in the skirt itself, hopefully that'll just provide a little bit of ease around the hips, which I am not mad about. So next up is adding the waistband to the skirt itself. So I'm taking one of the waistbands that we just created and pinning it to the skirt. And I'm actually finding that it feels like the waistband is a little bit shorter than the skirt, which I'm not sure if that's because I did the darts wrong, if I didn't pull in quite enough fabric for the dart, or if when I did my French seams, if my seam allowance was a little bit off, so they're not matching. I think I'm actually going to bring the front darts in just a little bit closer. So if you can see, this is the waistband piece, and then this is the skirt, but it's essentially like the waistband piece is a little bit too short. And I think if I just pull these darts in a little bit more, then it'll sit nicely. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I think that'll be easier than trying to like stretch the waistband, which isn't really stretchable because A, it's not a stretchy material, and B, it has interfacing on it, which is the whole point, to avoid it from stretching. I think it'll be easier to just bring in those darts a tiny bit so that it matches the length of the waistband. Confidence. Confidence. In case my explanation wasn't clear, instead of having the dart start here where it's currently stitched, I just marked out the new place where I want it to start, and I'm just going to sew down, have it meet the same end point so that it's just a little bit tighter at the top. I keep pushing my hair back behind me today, and I feel like Galinda from Wicked. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, go see Wicked. You must. You really must. Okay, I think that worked. So now I have the waistband pinned to the top of the skirt, and it all fits beautifully, I would say. And if you're wondering why I have the wrong sides pinned together, you shouldn't be wondering, because what kind of seams are we doing for this skirt? Yes, that's right. We're doing French seams. I am hoping that it doesn't get too bulky, having all of these French seams, some almost stacked on top of one another, but I guess we'll find out, won't we? I guess we'll find out. Okay, mission accomplished. We have sewn the waistband onto the skirt, and I think it looks really good. I'm super glad that I did pull those darts in a little bit tighter, and I'm really happy with my little French seams on the inside. I am now starving, so I need to break for lunch. And when we come back, we're moving on to the zipper. First lunch, then a zipper. I nearly just sewed the zipper onto the wrong side of the skirt. And I'm really glad that I thought to check one more time, because it should be right sides together, and I pinned it to the wrong side of the skirt. So let's try that one more time. Okay, zipper is, I think, done. Initial impressions before we try zipping it up for the first time. I would say I have a lot to learn when it comes to installing zippers. I don't think this is the worst zipper that's ever been installed, but it's certainly not going to win any awards. So this bottom bit of the skirt hasn't been sewed yet, so it's going to look crazy. But the zipper should be functional. Let's see. Okay. Well, I don't know that it's an invisible zipper. This is where we're at. The thing is, the instructions specifically noted to like sew as close to the zipper teeth as possible, which I really thought I did. But like clearly there's a huge gap between the zipper teeth and the fabric. Okay, where to begin? So it is the next day, and much has happened since you last saw me. Where we left off, I had just put in the zipper and was not happy with it. I did some research and it very quickly became apparent that because I don't have an invisible zipper foot, it was going to be really hard to actually do an invisible zipper. Essentially, the closer your stitch is to the zipper teeth, the more hidden the zipper will be on the outside. So I did another line of stitching that was just marginally closer to the zipper teeth. So it's still not perfect. It's still not truly an invisible zipper, but I think especially with the plaid material and the zipper kind of blending in to the color of the fabric itself, it kind of blends in with the pattern. I think it'll be fine. I'm not going to go out and buy an invisible zipper foot just for this. Obviously, it might be something that's worth investing in. I'm sure they're not very expensive, but for now, I think it's okay. So that was the first thing. Second thing, I went ahead and put together the lining of the skirt last night. It's basically following the exact same process as putting together the skirt, but with the lining material. And I think this video is already going to be quite long, so I figured you didn't need to see me do it again. But this is how the lining looks now. And it's still just an open piece that will get inserted into the skirt itself. However, item 3 on my list, I think there's something wrong with my machine. As I was working on the last few steps of the lining, I started noticing this harsh grinding sound coming from my machine. I'm about halfway through a sewing project and my machine doesn't want to keep going. The best way I can describe it is it's just making this really angry, like grinding noise. So I took some time this morning to fully clean out the machine, remove as much lint as I possibly could. I oiled the machine. I also changed the needle because a lot of places mentioned that the needle might have an impact on like a weird noise in the machine. I didn't notice that my old needle had anything wrong with it, but I tried replacing it just to be safe. After doing all of that, the noise has lessened. I won't say that it's gone away. I think it still probably needs to go in and be serviced professionally because I took it apart and didn't see anything wrong, but I don't really know what I'm looking at. However, I really want to finish this project today. I already didn't expect it to go into like a 3-day project. So I'm just going to try to power through for today and then plan to take it in, have it serviced and looked at and have anything repaired if I need to before I do my next project. Please, everyone, be crossing your fingers that my machine holds out for the rest of this project. There isn't much left to do. I imagine there might be people screaming in the comments like, "Don't do that. If your machine's making a weird noise, stop working on it and have it brought in." I know. I know. We're so close to the end of this project. I just want to get it done. And obviously, if it gets way worse again, then I'll pause and take it in and deal with it before finishing the project. But I'm just going to see if I can push my luck a little bit. I think that's that. Sorry for the big chats this morning, but good news is we are quite close to the end of this project. I just have on the main skirt, I need to sew this back bit together underneath the zipper, and then I need to put the lining in and finish the waistband and hem it. And I think that's it. So we're gonna get going on this. Because of the machine malfunction, I'm probably gonna time lapse through a lot of these final steps, but you know me, I'm gonna stop and chat if there's anything interesting going on. All right, let's do it. We did it. I have to say that I found this project to be a lot more challenging than I expected it to be. I certainly didn't expect my machine to break down and me have to borrow a machine. So thankful that I was able to borrow this machine. But I don't think expected to have so many kind of like technical difficulties with the pattern itself. Not that there was anything wrong with the pattern. I was actually really happy with it and I would like to make it again. But I think because of some of the alterations that I wanted to make to the pattern, plus just not having much experience with some of the technical elements like putting in a zipper, it just ended up being more challenging for me than I expected it to be. I don't know how much that really came across on video because when I'm struggling with a step or a part of a project, I definitely do not like to turn on the camera and like work through it on camera. I definitely like to just work through it off camera where I can. So anyway, I am really happy with how the final product came out. It's super comfortable. I think that it fits really well. There are certainly details of it that I would like to see improved, and I think I could improve if I made this pattern again. I try to remind myself that these are details that probably only I would notice. Yeah, I think it's fun and festive, and clearly I love this fabric so much because I've already made 2 things with it. I think that's it. As always, please drop a comment below. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me if you're making any Christmas gifts or holiday gifts for loved ones around you, or if you're making anything for yourself. I'm making a lot of stuff for myself this Craftmas, and I'm not sorry about it. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a little bit of a longer video, so I really appreciate you getting to the end. I will see you again on Tuesday for my next video. Happy Craftmas. Bye.